Hey everyone, I wanted to come on here quickly and I wanted to talk to you about something that I don't hear enough conversations about, and it's so important when it comes to manifestation, when it comes to building your desired reality, when it comes to creating your dream life, your dream business, and that is talking about what you normalize. I find that it's very easy for us to normalize things that we've seen in existence that we have had people tell us is what is socially acceptable. But when we start normalizing things that aren't actually what we want in our desired reality, we're actually lowering our standards because we are trying to create a life based on what someone else has told us instead of actually tapping into what we want to create in our lives and knowing that it's possible for us. And that's why being in mentorship is so important. That's why being in masterminds are so important. That's why following people or being around people that are building or doing what you want to do or have the lifestyle that you want to have is so important, because the people that you are around, the environment that you're in, is creating the standards that you allow for yourself to have. And a lot of people are normalizing problem frequency. A lot of people are normalizing things that don't actually get them what they're desiring. So in business, a lot of the time we're normalizing the fact that income dips happen. We're normalizing the fact that it's difficult to make money. We're normalizing the fact that you have to struggle a lot, you have to work a lot, you have to trade your time for money. When if you get into rooms with women that are creating big business and big money and have a huge wealth consciousness standard, you, whether directly or indirectly, are raising your standards just because you are witnessing a woman in her power. You are witnessing somebody who has a higher frequency when it comes to wealth. And what's so interesting that I don't hear enough people talk about is that your subconscious mind is literally creating things based off of what you have typically seen or experienced. So that means what it's created for you, it's found to be 100% true. But when you start seeing people that have a different relationship with things than you do, for example, business, money, clients, success, luxury, anything like that, when you start seeing women that are in their power, that are normalizing having $1 million months or 500K months, or normalizing big money and normalizing wealth building. Like, I'm not just talking about having a coaching business here. I want women to change the financial landscape of the world. So whatever industry you're in, I want you to thrive, but I want you to build an empire because I want us to absolutely change the world. And I find that totally just lost my train of thought because the puppy just woke up. But I find that there's a lot of people who want to have really big businesses. They want to make really big money in their business, yet they're still surrounding themselves with people who haven't normalized that. They're surrounding themselves with people who are still working 9-to-5s, or people that are still struggling to get their business off the ground, or they're hanging around with people. They're hanging around with people who aren't really generating the amount of money that they want in their business. And what ends up happening is the problems that those people have, you normalize and you start having conversations about and you start connecting about. When you are in a woman's proximity that is doing big business, that's making big money, she's going to hold you to a higher standard just because the conversations that she's happening in her world are going to be different than the conversations that you would typically see. And that's because she's not playing into problem frequency anymore. The problems that you allow yourself to have when you are struggling to make 10K a month or get to that 20K a month consistent benchmark are not the problems that you're going to entertain when you are at 100K or more a month. It's just, you have to realize that the time and the energy that you're putting into things is allowing your reality to be created off of that. So we have to be really mindful of what we're normalizing, because when we normalize money problems, when we normalize business problems, when we normalize the things that, let's be honest, society has taught us to normalize, we end up connecting with people who have the same normalizations, aka the same standards. And that means that there aren't there isn't going to be much room for you to expand and grow in that relationship or in your environment, because why would you? You're comfortable, you've got people around you. It might not be where you want to be, but at the same time, you have conversations about it. You've got people to connect with. This is what you know. And so many people live in the world of what they know instead of getting themselves into rooms, into conversations, into containers where they're going to be held to a higher standard, where they're going to have higher level conversations that are going to require you to raise your consciousness level, where there's going to be energetic conversations that's going to require you to expand energetically, to be able to actually take on those energetic codes. What people don't realize is we're literally like electromagnetic beings. We have an electromagnetic signature. It's created by all of these patterns that are within us, that are created by belief systems, that are reinforced by our stories. And all of these stories get normalized and reinforced even more when we are surrounding ourselves with people who are experiencing the same thing. And that's why you see quite often when women get into mentorship, or when people start really, really diving deep into their business or personal development, they start growing exponentially. Why? Because they're putting themselves in rooms where their standards are raised and they aren't allowed to play into the same bullshit that they've always been allowed to play into. Because let's be honest, if you're hanging around with a friend that you've had for 17 years, and then you're also in a room with somebody who's a multimillionaire, who's building a business that you desire to have, you're not going to be having the same conversations with them. Not typically anyway. So what's the difference there? It's the standard and the frequency that this person is at. Because you're like, oh, I don't want to have the same conversations that I would have with my best friend, because like they wouldn't even entertain that. And it's like, okay, so if you desire to be them, then you need to stop entertaining that. You have to start being more mindful of what you're allowing in your life, whether it's in your business or out of your business, because that's the one thing that I see women across the board not fully landing in, is that who you are outside of your business is just as important, if not more so, than who you are inside of your business. That's that whole conversation about congruency. I had a post about this yesterday or the day before about it's the one that says you can't fake clean energetics. That one, like talking about congruency. Congruency means that who you are outside of your business is in alignment with who you are inside of your business. And this is how we start playing in that feminine energy aspect, because we realize that it's not always about working. It's about building a lifestyle that allows us the spaciousness to work as we desire and to receive even when we are not working. And in order for you to even normalize that standard and to even take on that belief, you have to get yourself in rooms with people who are doing things differently. If you grew up in a blue-collar family, they're not going to teach you that you can receive wealth and you can receive money when you are, just hanging out or doing whatever you want to do. Whereas it's not about necessarily you constantly working. It's about your frequency and your alignment, and your congruency comes from your frequency and your alignment and who you're being. And who you're being is a direct result of the standards you have and what you're normalizing in your life. And if you want to change your life, one thing that you can easily do is start actually reinforcing your standards and actually start being self-conscious enough to be aware of what you're normalizing in your life. Because if you're normalizing things that aren't what you want, then that's a good place to start, right? Why are you continuing to subscribe to something that isn't your desired reality? Because the more you entertain that story, that frequency, that belief, that narrative, all of it, then you're going to keep allowing that and you're going to have space for it in your life. Think about the times when you declare something, like you're like, I'm fucking done, or you're like, I'm getting this, like this is what's happening. You have no room for it to be any other way. That is what a standard is. It's not only you stating something, but it's you energetically grounding yourself in and saying, no, I will not accept anything less than this. We do this so often in dating, right? Like we're really good at setting standards in dating, also really good at dropping them. But I think that we forget to have standards in the rest of our lives. We don't have this conversation about how important standards are. And quite honestly, I never even heard a conversation about normalization until probably a year ago. So these conversations are the conversations that are absolutely going to free people. Like these are the conversations that the collective need to be a part of, because these are conversations about taking your power back. No one outside of you has any power over you. You have to take your power back and start realizing how much of a co-creator you are. And I get that there are so many distractions going on in the matrix right now, but do you think that that is a coincidence? Literally, Pluto is in Aquarius for the first time in 250 years. And that is going to cause some major shifts. And we have to see these things break down before we can bridge this new paradigm. And can you handle the duality of building a new life and creating a new reality while this one still exists? That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But the people that are able to kind of put their blinders on and be consciously aware of what's going on in the outside world, but not let that pull them or sway them towards what they're building, and realizing that even though these things are going on right here, there are still people who are living their best damn life and having their wealthiest months and creating huge businesses while this is all happening. So can you be someone that's building and doing all of this while it's all happening? Because these are the people that are setting standards that they are not giving their energy to the outside sources. They know what they're building, and to build what they're building, they know that they need to have these standards in place. Not just for them, right? But like when you're building a big business, at that point you have a team. And you need to be able to lead your team and set standards for your team as well, because your team is also going to support your business. And from an energetic standpoint, their energetics are getting infused into your business. So they need to understand from an energetic point of view that who they are and how they're being is ultimately going to have an effect on everything as well. So I want to just talk to you today. I wanted to just talk to you about making sure that you're actually setting standards and then sticking with the standards. Are you setting them, and then the second that the universe gives you an opportunity to drop your standards, to lower your standards, are you caving or are you rising? Because that's the thing, is in order to actually reaffirm a standard and to create it in your life, you actually have to rise to meet the standard. When you're presented with an opportunity to lower your standard, you're also presented with an opportunity to raise your standard and to set it and to declare it energetically. Because it's one thing to say that you're going to do something, and it's one thing to say that you want something, but it's a whole nother thing to energetically align with it. And this is where I see so many people going wrong. They're either in one camp where they're just speaking and doing all these things, or they're in one camp where they're just trying to energetically align without doing anything. But the marriage of both, like that's where you're going to find the sweet spot, where you build an amazing life, where you build an amazing business, where you wake up every day and you're absolutely passionate about the life that you're building because you are expanding energetically. And that's what setting standards are. And when you have standards set, the universe understands what you're available for. And what you're available for is what you're manifesting. Because if you're not available for problems, if you're not available to manifest shitty things because you're constantly focusing on what you want and the life that you want to create, then your attention and your frequency are going to be so much higher than somebody that keeps dropping their power and keeps dropping their standards. So standards not only affect your business and your personal life, they also affect what you're manifesting. and how you're manifesting and how quickly you're manifesting or whether you're manifesting at all. And I just don't think I've ever heard standards talked about in the manifestation community. And I think that this is a conversation that needs to happen so that people can really start making manifestation more practical. Instead of it just being this spiritual thing that you do for 15 minutes out of the day, it's like, how do I actually become a conscious manifester because I'm ingraining manifestation into my way of being. So I'm being aware of my power during the day. I'm being aware of the standards I have during the day. I'm being aware of who I'm being, the frequency I'm holding, and this consciousness level. When you're able to hold this consciousness level when you're able to tap into what's going on, exactly, proactive. I feel like so many people are trying to create their life from a reactionary state instead of realizing that they are a co-creator. But in order for you to be able to create, you have to get out of reaction, because a reactionary state is never going to allow you to tap into your creativity, which means your innovation is completely blocked. So like, we have to get out of that survival state in order to really get into this abundant state. And the way we've been taught to do this isn't how it's actually going to work. And I love that everyone is talking about manifestation now. I think that's so fucking amazing. But I still find that we're not having a deep conversation about how to actually take these esoteric principles and how to apply them tangibly into your life so that they're actionable, so that you can actually start manifesting what you want. Because right now is the only moment. So if you keep giving your power away in this moment, if you keep dropping your standards in this moment, you are literally just throwing that and casting it out into the future. Like it's like a fishing wheel. You're just making that going to be further into your reality. So I think that this conversation about standards helps you really see that there are things that still have energetic backing to them, but they're tangible, they're practicable. I cannot speak right now. I'm on my second cup of coffee. I did not get a lot of sleep because of the puppy last night, so I'm trying to speak right now. It's not working, but thanks for holding on with me. But I really think that this conversation is going to help people to really solidify manifestation in their life, because it's going to give them something tangible and practical. You are already aware of what a standard is like. You're already aware of how to set a standard in your life. I know that you've done this with many practical things, whether it was a career, whether it was a car that you wanted, whether it was an apartment that you wanted, whether it was someone that you were dating. Like, you know how to set standards in your life. And this isn't something esoteric. This isn't something super complex. But do you set a standard and do you keep it? Because that's just self-leadership, and that's actually integrity and sticking to your word. So there's so many parts to this, but I really think that if you start practicing this today and you start just being aware of the standards that you have in your life and the people in your world, whether they are normalizing you having higher standards or whether they're telling you that your standards are too high. Like, do you have people in your life that when you tell them the things that you are creating in your life, they tell you that you're asking for too much, or, you know, whatever it is? Because when you start having conversations about the standards that you're actually setting, that's when you're going to find whether the people in your life are actually conducive to the life that you want to be building, or if they're actually contracting you into the matrix and keeping you lower and stuck there. So there's just a few things for you to think about, to chew on, to be cognizant of. I am going to go because I'm just so freaking tired right now. But I love you all so much. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk soon. Bye.